Hey, what's up everyone? Eric Rossi, the Galaxy here to give you a quick review of the Nikon D800. So the Nikon D800 came out in 2012, and this really revolutionized what Nikon was doing. They didn't really have a high megapixel camera. They had the Nikon D3X, which is like 24 megapixels, and that was really mind-blowing for them. They've had, 16 megapixel cameras, 12 megapixels like the Nikon D700, which is one of their most popular selling, well-built full-frame cameras. It handled ISO like a champion. That was, from 2008, but that didn't even have video. So you had the Nikon D3S that had video, but it shot like 3 minutes of 1080p or whatever it was. And they didn't really have anything that was progressing in regards to megapixels or technology that they were really trying to crack out there. And essentially it happened when Canon released a couple cameras, Nikon stuck to the game and released this Nikon D800. So why was it evolutionary is because it did full 1080p video, 30 frames a second, but it was 36.3 megapixels, and that really took the market by storm, especially the photo market, and really kind of woke up Canon in that regards as well, and they tried to step up their megapixel count as well. But this became a camera, a lot of people saw it, a lot of the studio photographers wanted this, stock photography, all those people in the studio, because this was the Nikon DSLR that they wanted, where it gave them that megapixels. They could still do some video if they needed it to, and it just worked for the time, and it still holds true to this day with the Nikon D800 and the D810, which are very, very similar cameras, a little bit of different processing, but and especially a little bit of the video codecs within it, but it's essentially the same camera in most regards. So with this guy right here, you keep that Nikon D700 build. You have that professional magnesium alloy body. You get your pop-up flash that you can use for your commander. It's 100% viewfinder coverage, so what you see is exactly what you get. You have ISO 1000 to 6400, but yet again, keep in mind it can be expanded to 25,600, but you're using this in 36 megapixels, not 12. So your ISO will still do great, but it'll do fine for exactly what you need. This will do high definition video, 1080 at 24 and 30 frames per second, and you get your 720 video with 60 frames, so for your slow-mo, at that frame rate. So the only way you can get these 60 frames at 1080p with the Nikon D800 is to actually get the D810 version, and that will have 60 frames 1080p, but you're obviously going to pay just a little bit more for that. The cool thing about this camera as well is because it integrated something differently as well, and it really didn't do a lot of that before, but it integrated a CF card and an SD card at the same time. So the Nikon D600 was already having 2 SD card slots, of D7000s and everything like that, but integrating the CF and an SD was something kind of different as well, using 2 different type of impact, and they really wanted it because of the video. There wasn't faster cards and everything out at that time that really handled everything. Obviously there was no 4K of that sort that was really being pushed into the prosumer consumer world. So that was just something interesting that they put in. They didn't even bring in that Sony XTD thing for years later, so that's just something cool. 5 frames per second, you can get the grip, but it's astronomically expensive. The shutter life is expected to last about 200,000 shots, but once again, I got this at 81,000 shots, so this still has a ton to go. And this wouldn't be my main driver for a wedding, really just be for the portraits and everything that I do, just something where I have a little bit more fine detail, and that's what I wanted to do with this camera. Even if I wanted to shoot some landscapes if I'm traveling, you get that extra depth. And the croppability of this thing, which I'll show you, I went to this abandoned park, this abandoned baseball field, Hincliffe Stadium in Paterson, New Jersey. It had a lot of ties with, history of baseball, the Negro Leagues and everything. And I just wanted to show you, how much you could zoom and crop into this thing and still retain optimal quality. It's pretty freaking mind-blowing at how much you can make out some things that are extremely far away, like make of a car or the color of a car that's far away or something, and just the detail that you get in shots, that I'm showing here. And there's just some other things I shot with this as well, but you get your bulb mode, you all the way up to 1/8000th of a second, which a lot of full frame cameras have been leaving out, especially on the Nikon side. You get your 51 autofocusing points, and everything works well with this camera, and it's decently fast from 2012. It uses the XP3 processor, but overall, as I mentioned in my first impressions video, when I really started to shoot with this, I noticed that the build quality is just something that I got used to with my Nikon D700, and it just feels good. That magnesium alloy feel, that magnesium alloy, everything, it just is something that I highly recommend. So the Nikon D800, the D810 in 2016 is still a highly sought out camera because what it offers you for the price point. The Nikon D800, for having just maybe a little less than what the D810 has, I got this for about $1,200, which is kind of dumbfounding because of this goes for like $1,400, $1,500. And the D810 you can get for $2,500 used, if not almost $3,000 brand new. So you can still find this for a deal, and this has practicality for a lot of things with the 36 megapixels. So just want to share my experiences and my review with this camera and everything, and I'm going to have a lot of this to come, as this will be one of my new guys in the bag, as I said, as I've sold my Nikon D700 to help fund this guy. Newer technology, faster, does video, so I'm going to do more video with it, and I just think it's something that is going to do great in the guy with the eye line of gear. So welcome to the family of the Nikon D800. Check it out. This is still worth getting 100,000%. You know, 50,000, 7,000 shutter clicks at $1,200 or something like that. It's a hell of a steal.